Good morning. Another book. The Right House for Rabbit. And this was a book that was Donlin's Christmas of 1986 from Grandma and Grandpa. So listen. Rabbit was tired of his house. Every day he woke up in the same room. Every day he saw the same thing outside his window. I'm tired of looking at that crooked old pine tree, Rabbit said to himself one morning. I'm tired of that round, brown hill. Today I'm going to find a new place to live. There's getting dressed. Rabbit brushed his ears and put on his best suit. Then he hopped into town to talk to Mr. Fox at the rental office. So you're looking for a new house, said Mr. Fox. I'm sure I have something you'll like. I want a house with a nice view, Rabbit told him. A view, said Mr. Fox. Let me see. He opened a notebook and turned a few pages. Here's just the thing, he said. Go to the third house on Bird Lane. There's a red mailbox out front. He's getting ready. The red mailbox belonged to Mrs. Robin. Are you renting your house? Rabbit asked her. Yes, indeed, said Mrs. Robin. My children have flown to homes of their own, and I'm moving south myself. Mr. Fox said, You have a nice view, said Rabbit. A lovely view, said Mrs. Robin. Come, right up. There was a wonderful view from Mrs. Robin's house. Stretched out in front of Rabbit was rivers and lakes and hills. In back of him laid all of the town. There's the red mailbox. And look at that view. But leaves blew into Rabbit's face, and acorns dropped down his collar, and twigs fell on his head. Where is your roof? Rabbit asked Mrs. Robin. Before Mrs. Robin could answer, a fuzzy yellow worm wriggled out of the tree. It crawled across Rabbit's sleeve. Mrs. Robin fixed the worm with a greedy eye. Then she neatly pecked it off and swallowed it. Who needs a roof, she said. A roof would just get in my way. There's the yellow wiggly worm. Rabbit wanted a roof over his head. He hopped back to Mr. Fox's office. Did you like the view, said Mr. Fox. Lovely, said Rabbit. But my house must have a roof, and walls would be nice. A roof and some walls. Mr. Fox looked in his notebook again. Well then, he said, go to the lake and ask for Beaver. The lake was blue and beautiful. Beaver was sunning on the shore. Mr. Fox sent me, said Rabbit. To look at my house, finished Beaver. He pointed to it proudly. I cut every log myself. The house has a roof and walls, but something was missing. There are no windows and no doors, Rabbit said. How do you get in? Look at the house. Woo! I get into the house under the water, Beaver explained. Follow me and I'll show you. He dived into the lake and hardly made a ripple. But Rabbit stayed on dry land. This won't do, he said. I don't want to go swimming every time I leave my house or come back. I'll have to talk to Mr. Fox again. There he is swimming. And look at the fish. Woo! But Mr. Fox said crossly, I give you a house with a view, and you want a roof and walls. I give you a roof and walls, and now you want a door and a window. Mr. Fox's clock struck the quarter hour. It was almost lunchtime, and Mr. Fox was getting hungry. He looked at Rabbit and smiled a sly smile. I know just the house for you, he said. Mr. Fox let Rabbit down a long, winding path into the woods. At the end of the path was a stone house. As you can see, Mr. Fox, said Mr. Fox, this house has everything, a roof and walls, a door, and fine round windows. What do you suppose Mr. Fox has up his sleeve? Pulling a key out of his pocket, Mr. Fox unlocked the front door. He opened it wide. After you, he said politely to Mr. Rabbit. Rabbit hopped into the house. Mr. Fox followed him. The door closed tightly with a click. What about the view? Said Rabbit. Let's look at the kitchen first, said Mr. Fox. It's large and comfortable, and the stove is almost new. On the iron stove stood a deep, shiny cooking pot. Mr. Fox lifted the lid. Would you like to take a peek? He asked. Look at him. He's sly. And there's the cooking pot. Mr. Fox licked his lips and waited until Rabbit leaned over the pot. Then he grabbed for Rabbit with both paws. But Rabbit was too quick for him. Springing away from the stove, Rabbit leaped straight through the fine round window of Mr. Fox's house. Ooh! Look at him. He jumped right out of the way, and then he jumped through the window. Oh my, let's see what happens. Rabbit raced through the woods as fast as he could. He sped past the lake, past Miss Robin's red mailbox, and straight across Main Street. Boy, he can run fast. Rabbit didn't stop hopping until he reached his own house. It looked very good to him now. It had a roof and walls, a strong front door. Rabbit dashed inside and locked the door behind him. As he sank down on his bed to catch his breath, Rabbit looked out the window. He saw the same crooked pine tree. He saw the same round brown hill. Look how dirty he is. He ran and ran and ran. Rabbit had an idea. He stood up and pushed his bed around. He laid down again and looked out the window. Now he saw 2 tall oak trees and a round green hill. Rabbit was happy. His own house was the right house after all. And there he is in his bed with his cup of coffee. Hope you enjoyed.